Oh my gosh, this is going to be a great hour, isn't it? 45 minutes. Here we are. Happy Tuesday, everybody. As always, it's pretty predictable. We'll start either sitting in a nice supported shape, or feel free to roll or lie on your back. You can roll down. So if you're sitting, feel free to, kind of go down vertebra by vertebra, or find your back with your knees bent in your constructive rest pose. If we are sitting up, finding just a nice, easy, supportive sit. And then we'll be quiet for just a couple moments to pause to feel the ground. Situating your body. And as you feel the floor beneath you, making that connection that the floor connects all the way down through the foundation into the earth. So floor representing earth. Letting your body really connect a little deeper down. And we're going to open our ears and just notice the sounds around us. So if you're in the room today, there's a lot of people around. You can open up to the sounds. And then this practice, right, as we open up to the sounds around us and still having a relationship to our bodies in connection with the earth. So as we find grounding through the earth, you might hear my voice, obviously. You might hear other sounds. We're going to take about 5 breaths. So one of the hallmarks of yoga practice is embodiment, staying connected to our breath, our awareness, and our bodies. So as we practice together, you're going to hear a lot of different sounds. It's practice, right? As people might come in late or have to leave early, right? If you're at home, you're in your office, you might have kids or dogs, things in the background making noise. Those noises add to our practice. So we're going to take about 5 more breaths, opening to sound and just practicing. Like, can you hear and notice what's going on without being completely distracted? And if you do get completely distracted, wonderful. It's an opportunity to say, hey, oh, I'm distracted. Back to the earth, back to my body, breathing. And coming back to your breath. Just give ourselves this gentle reminder that we can let go of good and bad, right and wrong in this class. This is more a class about curiosity. It's paying attention to how we're feeling in the moment and being really nice to ourselves. Right? So practicing kindness. You have total agency over the next 40 minutes. So if something doesn't feel safe or comfortable, change it up, okay? If it's hard, you can always pause and take a break. If you need to add something to make it more challenging, add something to make it more challenging, all right? We're all really different. So I'm going to keep coming back and checking in to see how we feel throughout our class. Okay. So with all of those words, we're going to roll all of us onto our backs and bend our knees and find constructive rest pose. So as we come to constructive rest pose, a little continuation from Friday's class, just define your core. So in this class, we define the core all the way from the front side back of the shoulders, all the way down through your rib cage, all the way into your front side back pelvis. Okay. And then all the way, I'm going to add your glutes and your hamstrings. All right, so there's your core. And then give yourself 3 breaths. We talk a lot about this transverse abdominis, this belt, this corset of muscle that wraps all the way around, front, side, and attaches on your back. So when you exhale, your corset is going to feel a little tighter, like a hug. And when you inhale, keep some of that tension, not too much. We're not locking it down. I want to feel tone in your corset, cummerbund, transverse as you inhale. So with that awareness, 2 or 3 breaths. You don't have to change anything. See if you can just start to feel when you exhale your navel drawing down into your spine a little bit. And as you inhale, your navel draws up. Right? You're not changing your skeleton, or just trying to feel and define the breath in relationship to this muscle. All right, now we can't see our middle back, right? We don't really spend a lot of time looking at the back of the rib cage, so it can feel a little confusing. So this is where curiosity really comes in and is helpful. We're going to take a few moments to breathe into the back of your rib cage. So as you inhale, seeing here, if you can feel a little more space and width in the back rib cage. And as you take your full exhale, maybe even keeping some of that space and width feeling across the back of the ribs. I'm going to be quiet so you can have your own experience, and we'll take anywhere from 3 to 5 breaths. And then again, notice what you notice. You don't have to put words to it. Just feeling it out. I'm going to add some movement now, okay? So going pretty slow. I'm going to take your knees. If your knees kind of came together a little bit, spread your knees about as wide as your hips. So your heels come in line with your hips. Arms stay down by your side, and just try and relax through your chest. And then with an inhale, we're going to pick up your right knee and bring it up over your right hip. And then as you exhale, slow and controlled, tap your toe to the floor. So you're going to tap your toe. Inhale, drive the right knee back up over the hip. Okay, so knee folds. We're stealing this from Pilates class. And we want to just feel the right leg like a lever without moving your back. So can you keep your back in this shape, just driving the knee forward and down? 2 more. Now, next time your right knee comes up over your right hip, pause, re-soften through the shoulders, the neck, and the jaw. I got a request to work a little bit with neck tension. So being aware of your neck here, all the way down into your abdominals. So upper, middle, lower abdominals. Slowly lower your toes and notice what's going on in your chest. And I say this a little selfishly because as I lower my feet, I start to really feel tension in my shoulders all the way into my collarbones, into my neck. Then we're going to lift the knee right one more time. Hold the knee up over your hip and then straighten and bend that leg maybe 3 times just to get into your hamstrings a little more. And just a reminder, your hamstrings are here on the back of your legs. So they go from the back of your knee to that sit bone, butt bone. And you don't have to totally straighten your leg. Next time your foot's up towards the ceiling, hold it there for a moment. Now, your leg connects into your lower abdominal core. Okay, so really try to feel your core support your leg. Your leg, an extension of your core. Okay, and you're going to hold that there for 2 more breaths. And then you're either going to bend it or you're going to keep it pretty straight and reach it nice and long and push your leg away from you, lowering it pretty slowly, about as high as your left knee. And as you lower your right leg to the height of your left knee, pause and push your right heel out of your shoulder. Extend your heel out of your ear and see how long you can feel and strong you can feel through your body. 2 breaths. Exhale, bend your knee and put your foot back on the floor. Just come back to your constructive rest pose as your baseline. Again, check back in. Give yourself a couple breaths. And then 2 breaths in the back rib cage again. And then when you feel ready, nice and heavy through both legs, inhale, left knee comes up. Exhale, drive the knee forward, touch the left toes to the floor. Exhale, inhale, the knee drives up. Exhale, it lowers. Go at your own pace with your own breath. Nice and heavy through the back of your pelvis. Can you pay attention? Notice what you feel in your shoulders, your neck, your jaw. If it's really tight in your shoulders, neck, and jaw, maybe don't take your toes all the way to the floor. Back off a little bit and see if that helps the neck and jaw. We're going to do 2 more. And then when your knee's back over your left hip, pause and do some hamstring stretching. So just nice and slowly bending and straightening that left leg. Next time you inhale and straighten your leg towards the ceiling, pause. Just like the right side, but well, different. So left leg connects into the core, right? Different because it's not the right side, it's the left side. But can you feel, right? Like your leg is an extension of your core, and then either bend it back into like supine table or start to really lengthen, like you're pulling your leg out of your ear, you're pushing your leg forward out of your rib cage, and you're lowering it about as high as your right knee. Try not to pop your low back or your back ribs up. And this time when you come here, pause and take 2 breaths through your back. Back ribs fill and widen with breath. Full exhale. And then let your left knee bend and bring your left foot to the floor. 2 breaths. All right. Head and neck connect into your upper abdominals and your upper back. So your head and neck don't just act alone, okay? And when they do act alone, when we lead from the head and neck, that's when we get extra neck tension, okay? So we're gonna bring your hands behind your head, elbows up towards the ceiling. Let your head get really, really heavy into your hands. You're going to pause for a moment to connect into your rib cage and feel your breathing. So when you inhale, knitting those ribs together. So what does that mean? That means you're drawing those 2 sides of the ribs together. You can feel your navel just naturally draw towards the floor. Okay. We really want the sit up to come from that feeling. So when you exhale, your ribs draw down, push your ribs into the floor and just lift your head up a little bit. Lift your shoulders up a little bit, hold, and do it again. Exhale, ribs draw down, shoulders, head lift a little bit higher, And then you keep your strength through your inhale and lower all the way down. So learning how to do a little sit-up from the abdominal rib cage connection, less from the head and neck. We're gonna do 2 more. So exhale, ribs drop down, head lifts a little bit, use your arms to support. Go up again with your exhale. Inhale, keep that strength and lower down. All right, you're gonna do 1 more. I'm gonna roll up to sitting just to take a look and see how this is coming along in class. And then if you come up this time and you want more challenge, you're gonna hold that little sit up. If you need less challenge, lower down. If you want more challenge, bring your knees up over your hips and stretch your legs up to the ceiling and take a hamstring stretch, right? So can you feel your head and neck a continuation, part of your core? They're not just solo working on their own, right? Your neck's not strong enough to hold your shoulders up. 2 or 3 breaths. If you want even more, lower your heels just a little bit. Don't pop your low back. And then with an exhale, lower your feet to the floor. And with an inhale, nice and strong, lower your spine and your head. And then let everything that can rest for about 3, 4, 5 breaths. Whew. Then feeling and noticing what you notice. We're going to take 2 exhales. With your second exhale, we're going to roll all the way over to a tabletop. So if you're at home, you can use a chair or a table for tabletop. If you're in the room, you're going to find tabletop. On the floor, strong wide hands. Try to bring your shoulders a little bit more forward over your wrists, okay? Now, if this is really painful, not your jam on your wrist, you can always come down to your forearms, all right? You can roll your mat up a little bit, right? Prop your palms up and bring your fingers down, all right? So, strong fingers, claw the ground so your forearms are engaged, right? So you want the forearms on. And then your arms connect into your upper back. Find and feel your shoulder blades. You might slide them down and up. You might pinch them together. Right? Find your shoulder blades. They're going to slide around on your back. We worked on this a little bit Friday. You're going to push into your index finger and your thumb and try and get those inner tips of the shoulder blades to be a little heavier, a little snugger on your back. Then gently press your sternum up. So that's a couple of big pieces. Inner tips of the shoulder blades on your back. Sternum drives up. Okay, you're against gravity. If you want more challenge, it's going to be a little bit of a big challenge. You're going to curl your toes and float your knees off the floor, floating table. Strong upper back. You need that strong upper back to support the head and neck. Strong core. Good, and then you're gonna push your butt up and take it back to downward facing dog. Then exhale, come back to floating table. And then back all the way to tabletop. 2 breaths. All right, we're gonna take a fork in the road. Maybe this is too challenging for you. If this is too challenging, you're just gonna push back into like a child's pose and work on coming forward, bringing your shoulders over your wrists. Okay, we're gonna do 3 or 4 more. So either child's pose to tabletop or tabletop to downward facing dog to floating table to table. Okay. Try to make sure that your shoulders are coming more forward over your wrists in either option. Moving on your own, pace it out. Remind yourself you're really strong. Find the right challenge for you and keep breathing. Go as slowly as you need to really stay in control. It's a lot of upper back shoulder work. It's a lot of upper abdominal work. Try maybe one more and then find a nice shape to rest in, and we'll just let everything that can rest for about 3, 4, 5 breaths. So you could take a child's pose. You could come back to sitting. If child's pose is hard on your knees, roll on your back and hug your knees in. Come back all the way to feeling the ground earth, and then challenging yourself to breathe 2 breaths through the back of that cummerbund corset area. Feeling that full next exhale. And then we're going to transition up to stand. So you come up the way you need to. And then we'll just meet in standing. If you're in the room here, feel free to turn and look at the lake. It's really beautiful outside. This is like one of those days I want to live on a cloud. Right? Clouds are perfect, blue sky. So arms can hang nice and heavy at your side. We're just going to pause to look out and give yourself 3 breaths. All right, so we're going to go back to basics for just a couple poses. And as we go back to basics, you can turn to look at me, or you can keep looking outside and just use proprioception and really figure out the body in relationship to space, okay? So we have this rectangle from, the shoulders down to your hips, all right? So your arms plug into your shoulders, right? And in your shoulders, your arms can rotate. So just take one arm out in front of you, and it has external rotation. You can roll your arm away from you, and you can roll your arm back in, right? It rolls, okay? So if you're gonna open a door handle, you would open your door handle and externally rotate your arm. You would close the door handle and it would be internal rotation, right? All right, do that with your second arm. Luckily, we only have 2, and you're doing internal, external rotation. Your arm bone is moving in the socket, right? Arm bones have balls at the end and they roll around in the sockets of the shoulders. Okay, let your arms come down and hang. Your legs are really similar to your arms and your shoulders, your legs and your hips. You have hip sockets, you have legs that fit into the socket. So pick a leg and bring it out in front of you, and really similar to your arm, externally rotate your leg and bring it back in. So you're moving the leg, not the hip, right? Your hip doesn't move. You're trying to keep your hip steady and move the leg. And then switch legs. The leg moves, not so much the hip. Fabulous. Then bring your legs back together. All right. It's easier to do both arms together. So we're going to do both arms together. They're going to come out. Your shoulders don't need to move. We're going to do the arms one more time. There's a lot of range of motion here. So keeping your shoulders kind of down out of your ears and back a little more. Careful not to round. We're going to externally roll your arms away from you and then internally rotate the arms. See if you can feel 2 more, a little more up in the joint of the shoulder. So you might imagine that arm ball moving around in the socket. That arm ball moving around in the socket as you go internal. Great. And then just let your arms come down and give yourself 3 breaths. All right, then we're gonna step your feet nice and wide. You can step on the carpet if your mat is facing me, or you can move your mat. You can look at the lake. You can look at me. If you're at home or your office, look any direction you wanna go, okay? Legs go wide. And then you know what external rotation feels a little bit like now, right? So your legs are gonna have some external rotation. And then we're gonna go down, bend your knees into your sumo squat and push down and come up. Try for 3. Go as deep or down as low as your knees and ankles let you. And then we're going to do 3 more. Maybe lift your heels. Leg bones, okay. Pressing back. Front hip groins a little more open or spacious. Maybe 1 or 2 more. Keeping your heels up or put your heels down. Last one. Great, then come all the way on up to standing. Maybe your breath's a little faster, follow the faster breath for 2 or 3 breaths. All right, so with straight legs, you're gonna take your left leg and internally rotate it. Your right leg's gonna externally rotate and you're gonna go heel to heel. All right, with an inhale, bend your right knee. And with an exhale, straighten. Follow your own breath. 2 more breaths. Fabulous. Next time your right knee has some bend, pause. Plant that left heel so you can feel your left heel behind you. You don't even have to look at it. You can feel the left heel to the left pinky toe really heavy. Great. Now notice that your pelvis and your belly button are at a diagonal to your right leg. This is pretty important because we don't want any pain in the low back. All right, take your arms forward like double arm shakes. Okay, open them up. Right arm's gonna come over the right thigh bone, left arm's gonna come back. Great, now try and feel your upper back. Plug your arms into your upper back. So you have your shoulder blades, pull your arms and see if you can feel your shoulder blades. 2 breaths. With your next exhale, straighten your right leg and reach your arms up to the ceiling. Keep your arms up to the ceiling. Right leg's gonna roll in, internal rotation, external rotation in your left leg, and bend your left knee, bring your hands back to your hips, and just bending and straightening this left leg 2 or 3 times with your breath. So see if you can follow your breathing. All right, next time your left knee bends, pause. Here's your challenge. So feeling your body in space is a challenge. Is your front heel in line with your back heel? Or do you need to move it around a little bit? All right, then take your arms out in front. Open them up, warrior 2. Practice feeling what you can't see. Take a couple breaths through the back of your corset cummerbund muscles. Plug your arms into your back, 2 breaths. Feel your exhale. You're going to press down and take your arms up to the ceiling. Left leg's going to roll in, right leg's going to roll out. Right away, you're going to go to that warrior 2 shape. 2 breaths. You're going to straighten your right leg, take your arms up, rotate your right leg in, left leg out, back to the left side, warrior 2. Exhale, straighten, rotate the legs, right side. Straighten the leg, arms stretch up, left side. Can you feel the legs rotating in the hip sockets? One more time to each side. Go as slowly as you need to really understand the legs. Feel those legs rotating in your way of understanding, not my way to understand this. How do you understand this in your body? Back over to the left. And we'll meet back, arms up, feet facing forward. Great, just keep your legs nice and wide, take your arms down to your side. Now, remember your shoulders. You're gonna keep your shoulders back and swing your arms back. Try not to move your shoulder, just take your arms behind you. Okay, strong shoulders, internal rotation of your arm bone. So when you internally rotate your arm, try not to round your upper back. Try not to round your shoulder forward. Just internally rotate the arm and pull your fingers down and then push your hip creases back. Wide leg forward fold. Keep your arms pressing, reaching back. Fold over as far as you feel comfortable. Bend your knees as much as you need and take 2 breaths. With your 3rd breath, fill up the back of your cummerbund corset and then push into your feet and exhale. Come all the way up and give a high 5 or a high 10 in front of you. And then let your arms come down, keep your legs wide and just take 3 or 4 breaths. Just back to your body, breathing. If you're looking outside, if you're in Monona Terrace, you can just look up at the sky and use the sky to help clear your mind and take a few breaths. All right, one more time. Left leg rolls in, right leg rolls out. Bend your right knee and take your arms out into that warrior 2. Now, if this is too much on your shoulders, back off. Bring your palms together at your chest. That's fine. Okay, you have this shape with your legs and you want to find really strong legs right now. Okay, so nobody could knock you over. You're not going to move your legs. You're going to keep your legs in this shape and you're going to move your pelvis a little bit. Okay, so you're going to take your left hip. If you need to put a hand on it, put a hand on it. And you're going to bring your left hip around to your right inner thigh a little bit. So a little bit of rotation in your pelvis, not your legs, okay? So now your pelvis and your belly button are at a different angle. And then you're gonna tip at your right hip. So you're gonna tip over and put your right elbow on your right knee and your left arm up to the ceiling. Great, 3 breaths. And you breathe into the back of your corset. You feel and feel the back of your ribs holding a little longer, using your strength to come all the way back up. Warrior 2. Arms reach out. Notice what you can feel behind you. So if you soften your gaze, soften the shoulders, notice that left arm pulling back. Exhale, straighten the right leg when you're ready, arms come up. Right leg rolls in, left leg rolls out. Warrior 2. Again, check in. If this is too much on your shoulders, drop your hands to your hips. Find your right back pelvic crest. Just guide your pelvis around to the left a little bit, like you're taking your right pelvic crest around to your left inner thigh a little bit. Check that it doesn't hurt your low back. It's going to create a little more room for you to find flexion in your hip to tip. Left elbow to the left thigh bone. Just move. Let the shape fit you. 3 breaths. Okay, exhale, breathe into your back. Next exhale, come all the way back to that warrior 2. Feel out your right arm behind you. Pull it back. Really feel, you don't have to see your right arm. You can wiggle your fingers. You can feel that right arm back there, nice and strong. When you're ready, exhale, straighten both legs. Make like a big X. Breathe through your back again. Can you feel the back ribs? And you fill them up with a breath. And then a wide leg forward fold. You're going to take your hip creases, pull them back, and fold over. Just 2 breaths. Right here, ground down, come all the way back up. Stretch your arms up and step your feet together. Arms come down, look. Notice what you notice, 3 breaths. And then we're gonna walk up to the front of your yoga mat. Okay. All right, soft knees. We're gonna exhale, sweep your arms out and up. Inhale, pull your hip creases back, long spine, fold forward, bend your knees as much as you need. Keep a happy back, keep happy hamstrings, and then step your feet back, your choice, downward facing dog, tabletop, or child's pose, just 3 breaths. I'm gonna go to table, you pick. And then with your next couple breaths, notice the breath again through the back ribs and come down to table. Been here before, reconnect, find that strong tabletop. All right, so we're gonna work in your thoracic spine. So your thoracic spine is that middle spine between your ribs, between your shoulder blades. So you have a lot of joints there. It's naturally pretty tight. All right, so we're gonna work there. And by working there to start, we're gonna take your sternum breastbone gently up, not so high up that we do a cat though, okay? Don't round, we're not rounding. We just wanna feel the sternum come up. You wanna feel your shoulder blades the best you can. I know it can be really confusing. Confusion can be good. Shoulder blades on your back. Okay, ears about as high as your shoulders. Just pause and turn on your corset for 2 breaths. All right, you're gonna try not to let your belly button drop and you're gonna lift your collarbones. So your collarbones, clavicles, those S-shaped bones at the top of your chest, you're gonna lift them up and come to like, say, almost like a cow and really try to keep from dropping your spine, dropping your low back to be a little more concise, and then come back to your table. I'm gonna do 2 more, okay? So nice and strong through your corset, lift your collarbones, lift your chin, look up. Can you feel right between your shoulder blades, between your ribs? And go back to your table. 1 more time, really strong corset, cummerbund, transverse muscles. Lift your collarbones, look up. And now draw your navel, draw your ribs, draw your sternum way up and take a cat, round, 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 round. You might stretch out your back a little more by just pushing your hips, butt back. Gently take 3 breaths. And then exhale, pull yourself back to tabletop, and then 3 cat-cows, nice and slow, moving through your spine. Just feel it out. You do your cat, you do your cow, just doing them with breath and control. Great. After your 3 cat-cows, we'll know everyone's done because you'll push back into a child's pose or take 1 more downward facing dog. Great. Next two breaths, we're going to come all the way back to a nice, easy sitting shape. So you can face any way you want to face. You can look at me. You can face outside, look at the clouds. You can sit crisscross applesauce, or you can bring your legs out in front of you. All right, so a little bit more just thoracic spine mobility. So find your belly button to your pubic bone. So in the front body, and then your low back to your tailbone in the back, okay? We wanna really try and keep this area nice and stable. And then find your rib cage. You're gonna spin your rib cage to the right. And just pause and take a few breaths into the back ribs again. And try and keep both sit bones, both thigh bones really nice and grounded, nice and heavy in the earth. And then you're going to take an exhale and take your rib cage all the way around to the left. Pretty gentle. Trying not to move your low back too much or your pelvis. More from that thoracic rib cage area all the way back to the right. So more rib cage all the way around to the right. Now take your nose, take your gaze over your left shoulder, and 3 breaths in your back ribs. Keeping your gaze over your left shoulder, just bring your rib cage back to the front and then your head. Great, rib cage goes all the way to the left. So all the way doesn't have to be very far, less can be more, and then take your gaze over your right shoulder. Check that you're not overstraining anything. 3 breaths in your back ribs. Sweet, keep your gaze right where it is. Bring your rib cage back to the front and then your head. Great, exhale, sweep your arms up. Just give your side body, your back ribs a big stretch up. And then exhale, bring your arms down. All right, we always take the last couple minutes for self-care. So you can stay sitting and practice a couple minutes of meditation. You can lie back and daydream. You can do your favorite stretch. If you need more, you can do some push-ups, right? Meet yourself where you are. Can be really helpful to look ahead to the rest of your day. If you only had 2 minutes to help make the rest of your day a little calmer, a little easier, what would you do? We're going to take these next 2.5 minutes in silence. You might find it helpful to put a hand on your heart sternum, maybe a hand down on your lower belly navel area. Just feeling the relationship of the breath between your hands. And then a short gratitude practice. Taking a few moments, thinking, noticing 2 or 3 things you're extremely grateful for and why. Pausing to take a breath for each one. And follow your next exhale. And start to wiggle your fingers and your toes. You might draw your knees all the way into your chest. You might take a big full body stretch. So feel it out. You might do both. And then just really naturally, don't even think too much. Just roll over to the easiest side and come all the way on up to sitting. One more time, we'll just take our arms up and do a nice big stretch. Give everyone a high five in the room. High five to everyone at home. Thanks everybody so much. Happy Tuesday. Have a great week. I'll see you next Tuesday. No class on Friday. Woohoo!